Everyone, I hope you are doing well. Today is a slightly more unplanned video, and I'm going to be discussing more worldly issues, mostly like drama and agreeing to disagree, culture to an extent, and morality versus religion. I hope we can get through it. Now, a lot of this is just obviously my viewpoint or take on the world. I want to see your views, your point, and your discussions on any of the things that I mention. All right. And like, if you're not really interested in this, you can click off this video and watch one of my more entertainment related ones. That okay? Cool. There will be some swearing. Now, this week's gone by fast, but I've noticed like one thing when it comes to like drama, whether people having like personal beefs or relationship beefs or just whatever, even online, when I see people argue, especially in a political realm, about issues, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, rather than let's have a fact-based argument, or let's have a proper like argument, no personal attacks or anything like that, or let's, you might vehemently disagree with each other's points, but let's agree to disagree. No, it just resorts to personal attacks like, oh, you're a whitey bitch, you're a racist, you're an asshole, you're this, that, and the other. And I'm just sort of sitting there like, come on, guys, especially like whether like it could be gay marriage, it could be drugs, it could be prostitution, it could be abortion, and it's just like, what happened to that time? And people losing friends over political affiliations, and I'm like, that's not worth losing friendships over. Like, I know myself, like, I have at least one friend. We disagree on everything politically, if I think about it, because I'm like far more to the center left. Though I suppose to her, she'd see me as kind of a bit more to the left than I actually am. But at the same time, we don't let it destroy our friendship. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose we usually talked about things to do with entertainment or money or school or things like that. But, like, you have to agree to disagree. But I noticed, to use this example, and I'm not trying to get people's opinions on it, but say for the abortion debate. Like, I find issues like people, rather than making good arguments, I'm not saying there isn't, and I know this isn't everyone, I'm kind of generalizing and using it as an example where people make personal attacks. And people would be just there, like, if it's a pro-life versus pro-choice side, it's like, oh, you're a baby murderer, you don't care about children, blah blah blah. It's like, what about the child's rights, the unborn child's rights? And then on the other hand, it might be like, oh, you don't care about women, like on the extreme pro-choice side, like, oh, you don't care about women, what about her rights, it's not even a child yet, etc. And it just gets so contentious and emotional and personal, and I'm like, everybody, can you calm the fuck down? Like, this isn't a place where you should be making personal attacks or taking things personally. We're talking politics here. Keep all your emotional, personal shit, like, at home, and let's discuss the issue at hand without using ad hominems and everything like that. It's just no, you know what I mean? But in reality, that never works out. And it's even worse online sometimes, but I'm just sort of like, I just opt out of the debate whenever it comes to that anyway. And when a referendum comes, I'm not even going to discuss the issue. I'm staying out of it. Anyways, let's, guys, just agree to disagree no matter what the issue is, and let's not lose friends over it, okay? It's not worth it. And I suppose my other viewpoint is, this is unrelated, though kind of slightly related. Okay, everyone has a freedom of speech to say whatever the fuck they like, right? That doesn't negate the freedom of consequences, right? Everyone has a consequence, be good or bad, for what they say. Now, sometimes the consequence is unfair, sometimes it's fair, but like, never forget that. Anyways, we've got to a very different topic. I'm sort of one of those people, I don't really believe that, at least when it comes to certain things, morality or culture or whatever, they're relative or equal or same. And for some people, that might seem like, no shit, Sherlock, they're not the same or equal. But my point is kind of like, what's normal, what's socially accepted, and what's okay here. Let's say, I'm going to use what like the Western world. And why I say the Western world is because most of the people watching this are from the Western world. And B, I live in a Western country, you know what I mean? What's, say, acceptable in, let's say, Canada, socially acceptable in Canada may not be socially accepted in Japan or something. I'm just using a random example. But if you're going to go somewhere, especially whether it's for a long holiday or you're working for a long place, it's important to you at least look up or understand what the social norms in that country is before you go to it. And to explain this, I'm going to use a very odd example. It's a very old story. But a trans YouTuber got detained in Dubai for being transgender. Now, this caused a lot of outrage in some people. A lot of people were angry, like, how could this happen to her? Other people were saying nasty shit. Other people were like, why would you go there, etc., etc. I think in the end, she ended up just going to another country. And my viewpoint is either two reasons she was picked on. Either the guard knew that she was trans and just wanted to pick on her. B, the information on the passport didn't correlate with what was physically presented. Now, I don't think somebody should be discriminated for being transgender, like at all. However, that is mostly a Western perspective I have. Do you understand what I mean? Because the thing is, not everywhere is West Hollywood. And I know that sounds like I'm being bitchy, but I'm not. I mean this in the sense that the thing is, right? In the US especially, like being trans and just even getting legal protections for people who are trans has just kind of barely happened within the last 10 years. You know what I mean? That's only really been happening recently, or politicization of it. Whereas in a country like the United Arab Emirates or Dubai, right? They have a very strict kind of conservative version of Islam. Um, so like you can't really expect the same level of treatment is my point. Also, they have in one of their articles, though I've been told it's not always strictly enforced, that the imitation of women is illegal. I'm not saying she's imitating a woman. I'm just saying this is what their law says. You know what I mean? And the thing is, right, if you're going to a country, like I said, you have to try and know what the rules and laws are. Do you get what I mean? Because, and some people will hit me with, oh, well, not every place is the Middle East, Lillian. And you're right, not every place is the Middle East, but there's other countries that are kind of, at least, don't have the best treatment of LGBT um, people, anyways. And I suppose I'm focusing more on LGBT since she is a member of the LGBT community. The thing is, think of it this way. I know this is an odd perspective. If it's illegal to be gay in more than 70 countries in the world, the likelihood of you being accepted as trans in any of these 70 countries is probably significantly lower. And even something being legal or not isn't even what we define as being socially acceptable or not. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's sort of like, in a lot of ways, like some places could have ended up dangerous if somebody found out she was trans, and she could have been physically harmed. And it's just, I'm just saying to anyone, if you're gonna go to a country, especially if you're LGBT plus, like, you can Google treatment of LGBT people in different countries. You can check in the back of a lot of those travel books, and if you don't want to buy them, you can just get them in your local library. And like, you have to be safe and understanding. On one hand, I'm saying you have to understand the people who live there and the culture, right? It's not always gonna be the way you want it to be, or they're not gonna have the same viewpoint of the world as you have. And you do this is a random fact, though. You have to realize the only country in the Middle East that in any way protects LGBT rights whatsoever is Israel. That's it. It's the only country in the Middle East that actually protects LGBT rights. Every other country, good luck, you know what I mean? And the thing is, it's just sort of, I suppose the thing is, I just kind of, when I first heard the story, I just wasn't surprised. It's kind of the bad thing. I wasn't surprised the fact she wasn't allowed entry, because I was like, this is the Middle East. As progressive and as modernized as Dubai is, like I said, they keep to a fairly conservative, strict interpretation of Islam. You know what I mean? So, like, you can't really expect, like, it to suddenly change, or suddenly, like, people to just know. You know what I mean? You can't, don't have, basically understand where you're going to prior to going to it. And if you know it's not accepting of LGBT community, don't go to it if you can. You know what I mean? Because you get yourself into a very muddled spot. You know what I mean? And I suppose that's the general thing for anyone. If you're going to a country that vastly differs culturally to your own, at least try to have an understanding of it, or at least, like, have something, you know what I mean? Or avoid it altogether. Like, I know this is a really bad example to use to compare to the whole transgender YouTuber thing, but say if I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, I might as well make myself aware of how they treat their women. I would never actually set foot in Saudi Arabia because I know how they have they score quite low on the human rights scale, you know what I mean? If I'm going to go to another country like Saudi Arabia that differs a lot from the one I'm in right now, right? I need to make myself aware of the consequences, be it good or bad, when I go there. And I'd say that's indicative of anyone else, okay? Keep yourself safe, understand the culture, and if it's dangerous, stay out of it. It's kind of my thing. Anyways, I know I could expand on that a lot more, but it's kind of what I mean when I say I don't believe cultures are all relative because, well, also I believe we'd have a lot less world wars as well. Moving on to the next topic, which granted, all the things I've mentioned here could be controversial, but it's morality and religion. I don't think they're mutually exclusive things, which will sound weird to a lot of people, but hear me out. Trust me, this video isn't going to be more than 15 minutes. Um, the thing is, a lot of people have religious and personal beliefs. They're not necessarily bad things, not necessarily like good things either, you know what I mean? And the thing is, everybody on this earth, even if they have the most atheistic upbringing, has a sense of morality. But everyone's sense of morality differs. So, yes, I am saying morality is subjective because my sense of morality will differ from the next person's sense of morality. And even say people who are Christian, how they view what's right and wrong will also differ. Because I know there's some Christians who think it's a complete sin to like drink, even, and most obviously Catholics I don't even mind drinking, you know what I mean? And others might view this is wrong, that is wrong. And I'd say three things or four things that impact your morality is your upbringing, your environment, possibly religion, and your life experience. But my thing is that it's okay we all have slightly different sense of morality, provided the same thing with the culture thing. We could come from different cultures, we could have different religious beliefs, right? But as long as we all adhere to the same rules socially, then for all intents and purposes, we should be okay. It's not going to be perfect, but we should be okay, right? But the thing is, I have when it comes to more worldview, see, I don't believe in making a religious argument when we're talking politics or law. See, it's different if we're having a discussion about religious philosophy, if we're in a church or synagogue or mosque, or say the question is something like, is it okay to be gay and Muslim? That's fine. They're different scenarios because they actually have to do with religion. But say we're having a discussion about gay marriage or drugs or any other social issue like that or euthanization, there's no point me quoting or mentioning biblical scriptures or religious understanding because it's an argument from authority. And basically what an argument from authority is say for example, and I know I'm using a very cliched example, is say if I was a pro-life Christian and somebody else is an atheist pro-choice, or I know I'm stereotyping, I know it's not all. The thing is, right, if I'm kind of trying to explain why I'm pro-life from a sort of religious perspective, that I'm arguing from an authority that the other person doesn't adhere to or even believe exists. It's kind of it's nonsensical basically, and it's silly. Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense. It's sort of like there's no point going Bible like when you're trying to discuss something like that, for example. And even say defining what's moral or immoral can be quite hazy and gray, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching one video, the question is whether homosexuality is moral. It wasn't saying that it was immoral, but he was trying to say basically it wasn't a moral argument, and I tend to agree because when it comes to people's sexual orientations or things like that, I feel like it's more of a nature and nurture thing, more realistically, and it has very little to do with morality. You know what I mean? It's complex, but it's just sort of like it's not a moral argument because people they are what they are. You know what I mean? And I suppose this is the time I am being a bit more critical about religion because, like I said, I don't believe in. I believe in a separation of church and state, and also I believe that when it comes to belief, that's up to the individual to find out. That's not up to anyone else to enforce. Anyways, I've kind of been going on a bit too long. I know I could have expanded on a lot of the things I've mentioned, but I'm going to end it here. Thank you for watching.